again, it's Scott here. I've put a video together this time on how to unlock some of the hidden power in your diesel Mercedes. In this case, my W204 C-Class Mercedes. I have the C320 CDI, so that has the 3 litre V6 turbo diesel. I'm not sure if this will work for other model Mercedes. I think it will for the diesels. I'm not sure about the petrol engines, but you could try. So what I've done is I decided to take control some time ago. So I've got myself the Mercedes Star software. I use the DAS, the older DAS system, because it's easy to use and it gives you more access. The software is available if you go looking. There's a couple of websites around where you can pay a joining fee and get access to the software, and in particular you want to have what's called the development mode, which gives you access to change things and change things in the ECU and the various control units. So you need to get yourself a multiplexer. I get them out of China. Quite inexpensive. This is the one I've got. It basically has a cable in one end and a cable out the other end. This end here goes into your computer. It has the old serial port, so you'll need an adapter to go into one of the USB ports. And then the other end, of course, has the OBD connector on it, which plugs into the vehicle. That's normally under the dash, within half a metre or so of the driver. So you'll normally find it under a flap under the dashboard. So you pull the flap open and you can plug this in and then get access to the various control units. So I'll show you what I did with mine. It knocked nearly half a second off the 0 to 60 mile per hour time just by removing the torque limit and by changing the throttle pedal curve. And all this is available in the software, which is a little bit annoying, because I did actually say that I wasn't very happy with the throttle response on my car, and I was told there was nothing that could be done about it. That's just the way it was, and get used to it. Whereas in fact, in the software, in the system already, there were 4 different pedal curves available, and I set it on to the second one, which is obviously a sports style of pedal curve. It's far more responsive. When you come into a corner and touch the accelerator, put your foot down, it actually takes off, whereas before it was there was quite a lag, very, very slushy. I hated it, didn't like it at all. It was like an old man's car. So there are things you can do to make your car drive a lot better. You just have to learn how to do it. You've got to take control yourself, because I'm telling you, no one else will help you get your car set up the way you want it. So I would recommend you get hold of the software, get hold of a multiplexer like this out of China. It's probably talking around about 300 odd Australian dollars to get yourself set up. So I hope you enjoy the video. So here's the setup I've got. I've got the software loaded onto my desktop computer, and here's the USB adapter that goes into the serial port plug. There's the multiplexer, and there's the cable there going to the car. So it goes under here. So hopefully you can see that there's a flap there that you open and you plug this in. So when you open the software, you need to have the ignition on and it all plugged in, ready to go. If you're going to be on it for any length of time, I recommend you connect the battery charger. Okay, let's make a start, and I'll see if I can explain this well enough. Now, what I've done is I have downloaded the free software VM player, and I have set up a virtual machine. Now, the Mercedes system uses a modified version of Windows XP Professional Service Pack 3. Now, that's readily available to download. So idea is you create a virtual machine and then you load Windows XP3 Professional, SP3 onto it, and then you load the software, the Mercedes software, onto that virtual machine. So the first thing I'll do is I'll open up VM Player. Now I've set up several virtual machines and I've got different versions of Xentry DAS on each virtual machine. The DAS Xentry 2008 version because it's a bit quicker. So I'll open that. Not sure if you can see it, but there's the list of my virtual machines. So I'm going to open the 2008 version and I'll play virtual machine. Okay, so I'll click on star. So all the star network is connected. So that means the multiplexer is connected. I've got a shortcut here to Xentry DAS. So double click that. And here's the system. So F2. F2 takes you forward, F1 takes you back, and F3 is select, so you'll get the hang of it. So I'll go forward from here. There's just a notes screen. Go forward again. Category selection. So I've got to select the vehicle. So I'm after a car. Select that with F3. You can actually use the keys as well if you like. Here's a warning in German telling me that my system has got the developer mode, which means that if I don't know what I'm doing, I can create all sorts of mayhem in the control units. So I'll go forward from that. I need to select C-Class, F3. I need to select the 204 model, F3. So now it's starting to go through the connection process to get onto the car. Takes a little while. Right, we're in. It's connected to the vehicle. I can see up there it tells me what the battery voltage is, and just hidden from view there is the VIN number of the car. So when it actually opens, it'll be sitting at the top there, quick test. Now if you like, you can select F3. I'm not going to do it now, and it will run through and do a test on all the control units in the vehicle and tell you if there are any errors or any fault codes, and then you can go and investigate each fault code if you want. There's a help function there, and then there's control units. So you want to select control units and then F3, because we're going to connect into the engine control unit. Control unit groups, so there are 6 areas: drive, chassis, body, information communication, seats and doors, and air conditioning. So we want the drive group, so F3 to select that. There's 3 in the drive group. There's the common rail diesel injection control unit. That's the engine control unit, ECU. There's the transmission, and there's the electronic selector module. So we want the first one, so I'll select that with F3. So it's now establishing communication with that control unit. Up comes some warnings. So F3 again. I'm confirming that I've read all the safety notes. Right, so now we're in. So at the top there, control unit version, if you want to see what is in your vehicle, like an F3 on that, and it will give me a list here of, you know, what the control unit is, the number, the software, the supplier, etc, etc. Now I can back out of that by going F1. Fault codes, you can check any fault codes that might be in there. F3 that, no fault code present. Event memory, F3 that. no events present. An event is something that's not a fault, but something that happened that it records. For instance, I did have an event in there where I exceeded the torque limit, so it recorded that as an event. I've since cleared that. F1 to go back out again. Actual values. Now this is where you can start the engine and it will give you, the actual values of RPM and the engine coolant temperature and oil temperature and all that sort of thing. So you've got a number of things here you can test the engine at idle speed, check high pressure control, etc, etc. I'm not going to go into all this, it's quite intuitive. F1 to back out again. I'll jump down here to control unit adaptions. This is something that you may use. F3 that. So if you, for example, replace the air filter, you need to come into here and reset the air filter learn values, and you also want to reset the mean value adaptation data and the HFM drift compensation. It's all very easy to do. You just select which one you want and then hit F3 and it will tell you what to do. So I'm going to back out of this, so F1 to go back again. Now we'll get into the meaty stuff, development data. Now this is where you can really start getting into the control unit and making changes to things. This is the area that's normally locked out with the dealers. But really, unless you've got access to the development data, there's not a lot you can do. So I'm sitting on development data, F3 that. Up comes a list: control unit version, fault memory, actual values, actuations, control unit adaptions. And you'll find with each control unit the menus are the same, so after a while you'll get a feel for it. So we want to go to actuations, so I'll F3 that. Now I'm going to go to user defined actuations and F3 that. And this is where you can carry out a control unit reset, and often if you've got a problem, all that may be required is a reset of the control unit, whereas other people will just tell you, oh, your control unit's got a fault, and we can give you a good deal on a new one. It'll cost you $5,000. What we want to do here is we want to check coding and correct if necessary. So this is where it brings up the actual coding of the vehicle and the various things that are activated or deactivated. So we're going to go to check coding and correct if necessary, F3 that. Now up comes, this is where it starts getting into German, so it's not a bad idea if you have two screens. On the other screen have Google Translate running, and then you can just type in the German to get an English translation. But there's two types of coding here, explicit and implicit. It's the implicit coding that we want to look at. So if I open this one here, so I'll click on implicit coding, F3, takes a little while to come up, and all this is in German. Okay. So you can see here there's a drop-down facilities or features on the vehicle. What I particularly wanted to show you was the torque limit setting. So I'm just scrolling down here. Interesting here. Here's the differential ratio. You can click on that, and there's a drop-down list of all the different diff ratios that Mercedes have in their vehicles. So if, for example, you changed your differential, in my case I've got a 2.47 to 1, if I put in a 2.65 to 1, I can come in here and change the differential ratio and tell the system that I've got the 2.65 in it, and then it will make all the necessary adjustments. This here is also interesting, the rolling circumference, and it's set at 1,970 millimetres. And you've got a drop-down list here of all different rolling circumferences. Mine's set at 1970, it actually should be about 1990, which is probably why the speedometer's not reading accurately. But I'm not going to touch that at the moment. I'll keep going down. Now, these are the interesting bits here where you can unlock a little bit of power. This line here is the torque limit. And you can see here I've got the torque limit deactivated. There's two choices. You can either have it active or deactivated. The car comes out of the factory with the torque limit activated, so I've deactivated it. And then the next item you've got here is the moment or the torque that goes to the gearbox. Now, when you open yours, you'll find it'll be set on that, which is moment increase to the gearbox is not allowed, it's forbidden. But if you select this one here, what that is saying is that the engine control unit will measure and monitor the torque being produced and send that to the gearbox, but it will keep it within safe limits. So it will allow, it's basically saying it will allow an increase in torque to the gearbox, but it'll keep it to within safe limits. So I've set mine to that. And just by making those two changes, and then this change here to the pedal characteristic curve, so that's pedal Kennlinie, which is German for pedal characteristic curve. Yours will be set on KLD1, which is soft, slushy, has a delay, it's horrible. I've tried all these, but KLD2 is far more responsive, has minimal delay, and makes the car far more pleasant to drive and quicker. So just by making those three changes, half a second off the 0 to 60 mile per hour time. Keep scrolling down. The other thing here, maximum speed in reverse gear. Drop down list here, you can go up to 80 kilometres an hour. It was set on 60, which I think is crazy. I don't want to be going 60 kilometres an hour in reverse gear, so I've changed it to 30 kilometres an hour, because remember it has two reverse gears. And then here's the VMAX, or maximum speed allowable for the vehicle. It was set on 210, I've put it up to the maximum of 250. Not that I have any intention of doing 150 something miles per hour, but I just wanted to take away all the restrictions so that the engine can do what it wants to do. And then here's the rolling circumference for the front wheels, which again has a drop-down list. So there's quite a few things in here that you can change. So they're the changes I've made to my C320, which has got the 3 litre V6 diesel turbocharged. I would think that any of the diesels and maybe even the petrol motors will have similar settings that you can go into and change. So I've made those changes. I'll just hit F3 and it will come up and say, do you want to transfer this coding to the control unit? I'll say yes. It's now recoding it. The coding has been carried out, so F2 to go forward, and now you just have to go into the next one. It's the identical heading. Go into the next one. All you have to do is open it up and then close it again, because the changes I made in the first one will be transferred to this. So I don't have to do anything because all those changes will already be recorded in here. I'll go F3. Is the coding to be transferred to the control unit? Yes. Coding is being carried out, please wait. Okay, so that's done. So F2 that. Now just F1 to back out. F1 again. F1 again. So I'm just backing out, but I'm going to close it now. I've done what I wanted to do, so I can just hit escape and end DAS and go OK. So I'm out of DAS. Now I can close my virtual machine, so you just close Windows XP, turn off computer and turn off. Right, and that's it. That's how easy it is. So hopefully you enjoyed that video. So get yourself a copy of Xentry DAS. There is a website where you can download a lot of this software, so you just need to go searching. So thanks very much for watching.